Greetings. Hello again, and today I'm going to do a video that I've been meaning to do for quite a while since I started my channel, and that's to talk about the robots that I used to have when I was a kid. I have referred to them in quite a few other videos that I've done as the old gang. But before we get started on that, first things first, a bit of housekeeping. Well, mainly new subscriber shout outs. Now, obviously I was away for 9 days, overdosing on teddy bears last week. Wow, just put 14s at 50 into YouTube and look at the results. So I've had a few subscribers have joined me in the last week or so, and let's have a look. First one, and I'm a bit surprised at this guy because I never would have thought that this guy would have joined my channel, but he has. He doesn't take me as the sort of person who would subscribe to someone like me. Bubs, Busted Up Bots. He's joined. So, thanks, dude. Thanks a lot. I know you said if you see me at Auto Assembly, you're going to give me a fist bump, but we'll see about that. Then I've got the Tristan 600, thank you very much, and Ricardo Silva, again, thanks a lot. Then I've got 3 Transformers YouTube community guys have joined my channel. You know, some of the big boys, as I refer to them. And the first of which is a guy who I absolutely love to watch, Mr. Crazy himself, SMS number 1, Smizno. Cheers, dude. You're the man. You're Mr. Crazy. Love watching you. You're funny. And then we got the Mighty Grimlock. Again, thanks a lot. Thanks for looking. Appreciate your comment on my recent video about my response to Monkey Zen TV's thing about Marvel versus IDW comics. I'll get it all mixed up. Yeah, thanks for that. Much appreciated. And the Juice 84, he's also joined my channel, so thanks a lot for that. That's that out of the way. Let's get on to the serious business at hand. Toys. What toys I had when I was a kid. Now, like I said, I keep referring to them as the old gang. They're the kids that are the bots that I had when I was a kid. But in order to understand the reasons behind what I had, we need to go right the way back to the beginning, 30 years ago, 1984, when Transformers hit the UK. So I was 11 in 1984. Transformers arrived in the UK, as they did most places in the world, and I got into them being a kid, largely through peer pressure from kids at school that were into them. I didn't really get much in the way of pocket money, is the thing. I didn't get much pocket money, and I wasn't the sort of kid that my parents wouldn't just buy me stuff if I asked. You know, I've got no pest of power on my kids. They wouldn't just go up and buy me stuff. And my birthday is in early December, so if ever I wanted something for my birthday, my birthday was only a couple of weeks before Christmas. So, you know, usually I'd either get like a big birthday present, combined present, you know, birthday versus Christmas, or so getting Transformers for birthday was a waste of time. So I only used to get a little bit of pocket money. The thing I did spend it on was getting the G1 comics, getting the Marvel UK, well, the Marvel comics, and I started buying them when they first introduced in was it November 1984 or October 1984, and I bought them religiously right the way through until about February 1989 when I stopped getting them. But that was my Transformers hit every week, was reading the comics. But I did dabble in the toys as well. So to begin with, I didn't have much money, couldn't afford to go out and buy the big Autobots. All I could afford to buy was the mini Autobots. So I'm pretty sure that it could have been 1984 or maybe 1985. The first bot I got, at least I think so, was G1 Brawn. Picture. And I got him, and now for some reason my memory about what Transformers I had when I was a kid is very, very mushy, very fuzzy. I can't exactly remember what I had, and I know I hardly had any what I call pucker Transformers, like Hasbro ones. A lot of the Transformers or converting robot toys that I had were either knockoffs, third party, or just other robots that I picked up. The large majority of what I had weren't proper Transformers. So, Hasbro Transformers. That's quite important that you understand Hasbro Transformers. So all I could afford to get was mini Autobots, and I got G1 Brawn. Now, I definitely had him, but I seem to recall a few other, G1 Autobots, mini Autobots. Now, I think I had Huffer as well. Huffer, I look at Huffer and I think he was very familiar. Picture. And I'm not 100% sure I had him, but I think I did have Huffer as well. But when I think about Huffer, I also seem to recall Gears and Windcharger. But I'm not 100% sure whether I had those, and it's possible that they were Transformers that a friend of mine had who I used to play with, and it's possible that he had them, and that's how I remember them. But anyway, let's just say, for the sake of argument, I had two. I had two mini Autobots. I had Brawn and Huffer. So, couldn't really afford to buy proper Transformers. So, how was I going to get Transformers? So I think sometimes late in, was it 84 or 85? There was I used to live in Rugby. This is what you got to understand. I used to live in Rugby. And there was a shop in Rugby called Gray's. And they were basically a sports shop. And just have a quick look at the map. Right, it was on High Street. As you go up High Street, at the far end, on the left hand side, virtually opposite where Woolworths used to be, there was this sports shop called Gray's. Now, there was largely a sports shop, but right at the very back, a very deep shop, right at the very back, they had a toy and model department. Now, I used to go in there with my parents because they was a stockist of TCR, Total Control Racing, the slotless racing system, not quite like Scalextric, but there was a stockist of them TCR, Total Control Racing, and I used to go there to buy bits for that, because I had a TCR set when I was a kid. And they also stocked Transformer toys, but they weren't proper Transformers. Now, I've since, in my more recent research, I've since found out they was a stockist of the Diaclone range. They had Diaclone Transformer toys, and they had virtually the entire range. They used to be a stockist of the Diaclone toys, and I can remember picking up a few of these smaller Diaclone toys that I could afford, and one of them was MCO2 Robo Jaguar, aka Ravage, and I got the Diaclone version of that. And I had him, and I think a bit later I also got hold of the MCO6 Watch Robo, or Chronoform. Now it was a digital watch. You had a plastic strap that went on your wrist, and the robot sort of folded up to form a digital watch, and it clipped onto the strap. Only a little dinky thing, but I had one of those. I mean, the strap was made out of plastic, and it broke very quickly. But I used to have the robot. It was a funky little thing, and I used to call him Digit, and he was like sort of like a Decepticon mini-bot for me. So I had him, and then there was another bot that I picked up I'm not sure where I got it from. It could have got it from another toy shop, or I could have got it from the Rugby Market. And it was It was kind of like a GoBot, but it wasn't. It was like a yellow dump truck, that had a pullback motor. Pulled it back, put it in the truck mode, and it'd roll along. And then you could convert it very quickly into like a small robot. And the gimmick on it was you take the pullback motor out of the back of the truck, and then you'd stick the slot into the back of the legs once you transformed it to a robot. And then it had little wheels on the bottom of his legs, and you could pull him along, and he would coast, drive along in robot mode. And I had this one, and because he had on his face, he had these like very black sort of Terminator style sunglasses. I used to call him Shades. And he was another robot that I had. And let's have a look. Right. And then I think for my birthday, I think it was either 1984 or 1985, my mum took me to Grays and bought me one of the bigger bots. And I got the F-15 Jet Robo. Now, I've done some research into this. Takara did a couple of, pre-Transformers, the Seekers. They did these two versions. They did like basically Thundercracker and Starscream, but they weren't. They were just Diaclone Jet Robos. Now, the one that I bought, which was in Starscream's colours, the build quality on it was not very good. Most notably, the large wings where they slot into the fuselage onto them pivot points, they wore out very quickly, and the pegs wore down and they just kept falling out. Now, I've since discovered there was a knockoff of the F-15 Jet Robo called the King Damo 6. And it's quite possible that I had one of those rather than the proper Diaclone one. But either way, it was a pre-Transformer Starscream that I had. And I'm pretty sure I got that for my birthday. I think I got it in 1984. For my birthday, 1984. And, it's a Seeker. So I had one of those. And then for Christmas of the same year, a few weeks later, I got another bot. Now, it isn't a Transformer. It was a super robo machine. It was a large robo machine, Porsche 928S. And basically a big die-cast car, well, about yay big, about so big, transformed to a robot. Wasn't a huge fan of this particular toy because the super robo machines, or super GoBots as they later became to be known, they don't really transform properly in my mind, because they have a large proportion of car parts that form up the robot rather than car parts converting into limbs. The car parts were the limbs, and the biggest problem with this was the cockpit of the car became the head. Rather than having a proper head, it was basically like the cockpit section of the car was perched on top as a head, and the arms sort of folded out from underneath, and they were like these spindly little chrome limbs with sort of prongs on the end rather than hands. And I wasn't a huge fan of him. I seem to remember it had a pullback motor, I think, that it used to pull back and it used to go forwards, but I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I had one of those as well. And then, I think moving into 1985, the last couple of bots that I got were, so where are we up to now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right, okay, yeah. So, we're getting into 1985 now, and the next one I got was a plastic converting robot that I bought from another toy stroke sports shop in Rugby. That was on, let's have a look, where's the map? It was on North Street, if you know where that is, just off from Church Street, just round the corner from where the Clock Towers shopping centre is now. And I went in there and there was a basket in the middle of the floor full of these packets of things, and got one out. I bought one. Obviously, it wasn't super expensive. I could afford to get one. I was obviously 1985. I was getting a bit more pocket money. I think I was 12 by then, and I got this thing. Now, for years, I couldn't quite remember exactly what this thing was. I know it wasn't a transformer. It was a Japanese style robot. It was a triple changer, and it's kind of had. I thought it had a kind of like a Gundam aesthetic about it, but anyway, its alt mode was a plane, and it was a very poor version of a plane. Basically, you just flattened the robot out, folded the legs, clipped the legs together, put the arms on its back as boosters, lifted up the cockpit section, and the head stuck underneath, and then you had these little vestigial wings that sort of flapped out the front of where his shoulders were, and it was a very poor plane version. And then the other versions is it would turn into a walking plane, aka a Ger walker. So you'd have the front end of the plane, and then the legs would fold down, and then the arms would fold down, and it would be like a plane going for a walk. And then you had the robot mode, and the robot mode was quite a butch, chunky sort of Japanese style, sort of Gundam aesthetic robot, very bulky. And I came up with a name for this robot, and I called him Hessian. That was my name for him, and he became one of my go-to bots in my particular lineup. He was like, I used to play with him an awful lot. Because he was so different from the other bots, and I actually found that because of the way he transformed, you could actually get a fourth mode out of him. I actually found you could turn him into a quadruple changer. I actually to fold him in such a way that you could get kind of like a hover tank mode out of him as well. So he was a big bot in my eyes, one that I used to play with a hell of a lot, and he was very popular with me, and I used to use him for everything. He was my sort of stalwart of my Transformers collection, and I got him. And then sometime, I think in '85, I got my last bot, and probably one of my bigger, I wouldn't say more expensive, because I think it was expensive, and I can't remember the reasons behind getting it. Again from Grays, again a Diaclone bot. And I got a gun robo. Now, bearing in mind, in the UK, to begin with, the leader of the Decepticons was Soundwave. Megatron didn't come out until later, quite a bit later, the toy of Megatron. So there wasn't a Megatron toy about or available to buy in '85, I don't think, or in early '85. So I wanted a Megatron, and in Grays they had the Diaclone toy line, and they had a gun robo. Now it wasn't Megatron, but it was, I've since discovered, it was the MC07 gun robo, aka Browning. And I got one of those. Now, I can't remember whether I managed to buy it myself, save up the money and buy it myself, or I managed to get my parents to help me buy it, but I got one of those, and that became my Megatron. It wasn't Megatron as such, it was another robot that transformed from a gun into a robot. It's sort of got some of the aesthetics of Megatron going on, but it isn't Megatron. But to me it was Megatron, because you couldn't get the proper Megatron in the UK at the time, so this was my Megatron even though it wasn't. And what I did was, because it became my Megatron, I made some labels, some stickers out of some sticky labels. I drew some Decepticon symbols on sticky labels, cut them out, and I stuck them on his chest. And it's the same with my Starscream or my Jet Robo. I cut out Decepticon labels, Decepticon logos, and stuck them on him as well. So that then was my lineup complete. 9 bots, and I used to play with them, and there was a kid next door, Colin Priest, who was a couple of years younger than me, and his parents, he had a bit of pester power where his parents had a bit more money than mine, and they bought him proper Transformers. And I remember he had a lot of the headmasters when they came out. He had Skull Cruncher, he had Hardhead, Chrome Dome, and he had one of the Horrorcons. He had Snapdragon. But he also, I know he had some other bots, but I can't quite remember what he had. But he had some big proper Transformers. And me and him used to play together, and there was one particular time, I believe it was in 1985, the attic in our house, because we lived in a terraced house, and it had an absolutely huge attic, open attic. We carpeted the floor, boarded the rafters, electric lights up in there, and it was a big open space. And one time we went up there with some sort of tape recorder. I don't know if it was a reel-to-reel or a cassette recorder, and we had one afternoon we had a massive Transformer battle in the loft, and we recorded it. God knows what's happened to that recording. It's gone. It's ancient history. So yeah, that was that. But the thing is, when I think back, I don't think I played with my Transformers for that long. I sort of played with them for about 18 months to 2 years max, and then other things came along that I was into when I was a kid. And was it 1985 or 1986 this happened. I got into these things, radio controlled cars, and this is my very first radio controlled car that I bought back then. I mean, it's been restored since, but yeah, I got into these things. As you can see, I've still got my first car, and so yeah, that sort of took over my childhood to a bit. There was other things as well, home computers. I had an Acorn Electron. I used to play on that a lot, and later I got a Commodore Amiga. There was other things I used to play with. I used to play with Lego a lot. I had a big massive box of Lego, both normal system Lego and Technic Lego that I used to play with. So yeah, there was lots of other things I was into when I was a kid that would have taken up my time and my money, especially the radio control cars. When I got involved in radio control cars, I ploughed a lot of what money I got into buying this thing. I mean, this I bought on a revolver account, and over a period of months, just going in and paying a couple of quid every week until I'd actually paid it off. And then I had to, that was just the car, then I had to get the radio gear and the battery to go with it. And so, and for the couple of years after that, sort of the late 80s, was largely dominated by my interest in radio controlled cars. So I think my Transformers took a bit of a back seat. I was still getting the comic, I was still getting my Transformers hit from the comic every week, but Transformers sort of took a bit of a back seat. And then as time moved on, we come to 1989. I was leaving school, starting a job, an apprenticeship at a haulage company as a HGV fitter, apprentice HGV fitter. Learning to drive. I bought a car, my first car, Morris Marina. And yeah, so time moved on, and my Transformers, I mean, I know I stopped getting the Transformers comic. I was also getting Eagle comics, and I stopped getting them at about the same time, which was February 1989, because I got the Transformers comics up to issue 199, and then I stopped, just as the Time War story was starting. So then I stopped doing that, and I stopped getting the Eagle comics. I thought, oh, comics are for kids. I'm growing up now. I don't want any of that. And basically, all my other things that I was interested in just got pushed to one side. And the same with the Transformers. As for what happened to my original Transformers, I'm not sure. Can't remember what I did with them, but I seem to, something's telling me that I gave them away to the kid next door to Colin, because he was a couple of years younger than me, and he was still playing with Transformers by the time I'd given up with them. So I think I gave all my Transformers to him. So he, probably he got them. So they're all gone, and that was that. And time moved on. I got rid of all my childish stuff, started work. Our family moved from Rugby to Leamington Spa in 1992 because I got made redundant. My dad was out of work. My mum was the only one who was in work. She worked for British Telecom. They had wanted her to move to the Leamington Exchange, and so we got like a big relocation package that helped us move. So we up sticks and moved to Leamington Spa. And when I was in Leamington Spa, that was it. Other things happened. So Transformers didn't really feature with me, but there was still something in the back of my head saying, something I used to be interested in. And every now and again, something would happen, and I would look across, and I bought the video of the movie, because I can remember watching the movie and absolutely loving it. The 1986 Transformers the movie, the animated one, and I got a video of it, and I used to play that. And my comics, like I said, I used to have them. They came with me to Leamington, and I had them in a box. And every now and again, I used to get them down out the loft and sort of flick through them and read a few, stories, and then put them away. And then sometime in the sort of the mid-90s, they were put in a box in the corner of this very room, and they disappeared. And that was that. So the next time I got involved with Transformers, apart from when Transformers the movies, the Bay movies came out, and I started getting those, I have been watching Transformers cartoon series over the years and been getting into them. Most notably Beast Wars, the Mainframe Entertainment CGI series. I've got into that and really liking that. Watched a bit of Armada. Can't really say I like that. Cybertron, when Cybertron came along, I watched that, and I'm really into that, and I've got a few episodes of that on tape, so quite like that. And and then the next Transformer I bought was I think in 2007. I was at a Toy and Train Collectors Fair in Birmingham NEC, and I was walking around, and because I was a fan of the Beast Wars series, one of my favourite characters from Beast Wars is Silverbolt, the Fusor, and I saw a toy of him, and I bought him, and I've had him for quite a few years, until I decided to take the plunge and get into Transformer collecting. But now that I am a Transformer collector, I'm harking back to the Transformers I had when I was a kid, and I want to get them back. Obviously I can't get back my original toys, but I can get back analogues or replacements for the toys that I had when I was a kid. So I've made a start on this process already, and I've already got 3 of them. Starting with this dude, with my MCO2 Robo Jaguar. Now, this is the proper Takara one. This is not the Hasbro one. Got it off eBay a few weeks ago. Well, a couple of months ago, about a month or so ago now. As you can see, the arms are a bit loose. These things didn't fit properly. I've had to build up the pegs to get them to slot in properly. They were very loose, which is the exact opposite of my original one, because on my original one they were super tight and I had to file them down to get them to fit. But this is, an original, and he's complete. He comes with the case, and he cost me not a lot of money, and so he's the first of the new gang. And then the next one, after doing some research, I finally figured out what that yellow dump truck toy was that I had when I was a kid, and it was a Motorbot picture. So I managed to get one, and here he is. Now, I used to have one of these when I was a kid, like I said. The one I had when I was a kid was slightly different from this. It was a slightly paler shade of yellow, and the red plastic on the wheels was actually this grey sort of gunmetal colour like he's got on his face. And also the tyres on the rear wheels were smooth like the front tyres, not knobbly, and the stickers on his arms had, I think they had black bands on rather than red bands. But apart from that, it was a motorbot. Now, this thing is, you know, it's, to all intents and purposes, it's a GoBot. It's virtually the same build quality, the same transformation style as a GoBot, but it's not a GoBot, it's a motorbot. And made by Macau Toys, or MC Toys. But it's a lovely thing. I mean, to transform it, it's dead simple. There you go. And to transform it back, there you go. And it's got the pullback motor on it. Hang on. And like I said, you can transform him. Oh god, this has gone over half an hour. Sorry about this. And then you slot the motor in the back, and he's got little wheels on his feet so that he will stand up and he will roll along. The pullback motor has gone a bit weak on this, because bear in mind this is a 30-year-old toy, and as you can see it's very loose and floppy. Everything's loose on it, but it's complete and intact. And yeah, second member of my new gang. And the third one was Hessian. Now, it took me ages to figure out exactly what Hessian was, but it took me a while, a lot of trawling through the internet, and I found out. Now, are you ready for this? It's a Gakken 1/72 scale red Mospida Alpha Legios AFC 01Z Zeta Henshin Robo. And here he is. Say hello to Hessian. Now, I had one of these when I was a kid, and like I said, he was my go-to bot in my collection. This one is one that I've picked up more recently. Again, it's a 30-year-old toy. It is pretty worn out. I mean, the peg's broken on the head, so it doesn't secure. And as you can see, it's super floppy. All the joints are loose. But, you know, this is his robot mode. As you can see, it's got a very Japanesey aesthetic. Now, it's not based on Gundam, but it is based on Robotech. The Mospida, or the Legios line, is actually a spin-off of Macross or Robotech. So that's why it's got that Japanese aesthetic going on. They actually did 3 different versions of this. They came in 3 different colours. They came in red. It's actually a kind of grey, red and grey, blue and white, and I think it was green and grey. And I got the red one. So anyway, to transform him into jet mode, basically you clip the legs together. Obviously you take the gun out because you don't need the gun. Fold the fists away. Should have gone into the what's it mode first. Pull the wings out. Move the arms to the rear for the thrusters. Put the cockpit in place. And there we have the plane mode. Now, it's not great, is it? And as you can see, the wings are floppy. The arms form boosters on the back. The legs fold together to form, you know, sort of like the fuselage. But it's the wings. I mean, look at the wings. They're just pathetic. They did about 3 different sizes of this toy. This is the small, cheap and nasty one. The bigger ones, the wings go all the way back, and you know it's got a much better design to it. But also, this thing's got a gear walk mode as well. Just stay with me a moment. And there we go. It's gear walk mode. Just a plane going for a walk, really. But again, I found you can get an extra mode out of this. Now, I thought it folded a certain way, but I've since discovered that it doesn't fold the way that I thought it did, because the joints just don't go that way. But what I've found is you can do this. Now, you probably think that looks like a load of rubbish, but to me, that kind of looks like a hover tank. You've got the 2 cannons, which can rotate up and down and side to side. The wings fold down to form like armour plating. The fuselage section and the jet section basically becomes, you know, the turret stroke, you know, cockpit. And the legs fold out to form hover tracks. So I think that then becomes a hover tank. It looks stupid, but I used to use it like that, and it's an extra mode. So that's that. So I've still got there's 3. I've still got another 6 bots to go, which is why I'm going to AA next week. I'm hoping to pick up, you know, replacements for the remaining 6 bots. So that's a Brawn, a Huffer, a Chronoform Watch Robo, a Jet Robo, F-15 Eagle, Robo Machine, Super Robo Machines Porsche 128, who I've since found often referred to as a name called Hair Fiend. And then of course my Gun Robo Browning, which has been reissued, so I should be able to get a reissue one, if not an original one, but the original one seemed to be mega expensive. So that's what I'm looking for at What's It next week, largely. This video has been 37 minutes. I'm really sorry about this. I can't do it any other way. I just can't do quick and snappy reviews. I have to just do the long, boring, you know, reviews. I'm really sorry about this. But anyway, I wanted to get this out before AA to you know, let you guys know where I'm coming from as regards to these toys, and I hope that you know, this has explained a few things to you. So sorry about that. Also, another thing you might have noticed, I've changed the name on my channel. Instead of it being Transformers 4 Age of Extinction Reviews by Wilderness, it is now TFR Wilderness. That stands for Transformer Reviews Whiskey Lima Delta November Alpha Sierra. So, that's me signing off. See some of you, anyway, next week. Bye!